Yulong before and after Yang Mei Mei. What happens when a man who thought he understood himself suddenly meets the one person who rewrites everything he believed about life, love, and meaning? What happens when stillness meets fire? When silence meets laughter? When Yulong met Yang Mei Mei, his world didn't just change. It awoke. Because before Yang Mei Mei, Yulong was a man built on discipline and distance. After her, he became a man capable of feeling, deeply, fiercely, endlessly. This isn't just a love story. It's a transformation. A portrait of how one heart can alter another, without force, without demand, just by being there. Hold on tight, K-drama family. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Before Yang Mei Mei, before her, Yulong was all precision. His life ran like a well-tuned clock. Every morning began with quiet order, the same black coffee, the same walk through a city that never quite touched him. He worked with focus, spoke in calm tones, and carried a reputation for excellence that bordered on perfection. People admired him. They called him reliable, composed, unshakable. But what they didn't see was how lonely that perfection was. Behind the surface calm, Yulong lived in grayscale. The kind of life that looked full from the outside but felt empty from within. He told himself he didn't need anything else. He had his craft, his career, his solitude. But even he didn't realize how much he had been waiting, not consciously, not deliberately, but somewhere deep in the quietest corners of his soul, for something that would finally make him feel. And then, it happened. The arrival of Yang Mei Mei. Yang Mei Mei entered his life like a rush of wind through an open window. She wasn't what he expected. She wasn't even what he thought he wanted. Where he was quiet, she was light. Where he was steady, she was unpredictable. She moved through the world like a song, one moment laughter, the next contemplation, always alive, always present. To those around them, their meeting seemed ordinary. But for Yulong, it was seismic. She didn't just speak. She disarmed. Every conversation, every glance, every small act of kindness chipped away at the walls he had built around himself. He found himself smiling more. Thinking less. Listening differently. She would challenge him, tease him, interrupt his long silences with bursts of color and sound. At first, it unsettled him. Then, it began to heal him. The transformation before Yang Mei Mei, Yulong thought of love as a distraction. Something that could derail the order he worked so hard to maintain. But with her, love didn't feel like chaos. It felt like clarity. She made the world louder, yes, but she also made it clearer. Colors deepened. Music sounded different. Even silence changed its texture. She brought out sides of him he didn't know existed, humor, tenderness, vulnerability. She taught him that there's strength in letting go, beauty in imperfection, and courage in simply admitting you care. And somewhere between laughter and stillness, she became his mirror. Through her, he saw the man he could be, not perfect, not polished, but real. The world begins to notice. Those who knew Yulong began to sense the shift. He smiled differently now, not the practiced, polite smile people were used to, but something softer, warmer. He lingered in moments he once hurried through. He started saying yes to things he used to avoid, spontaneous dinners, late-night walks, unplanned trips. Even his work began to change. His performances deepened. His tone grew more human. Because when a person's heart opens, it colors everything they touch. The man who once hid behind control now carried emotion in every gesture. It wasn't weakness. It was growth. The quiet storm of love. Their connection was not loud or public. It wasn't built on grand gestures or declarations. It was made of smaller things, shared glances, unspoken understanding, the comfort of presence. She could read him even when he said nothing. He could steady her just by being there. They fought sometimes, not out of anger, but out of passion. Because both of them were strong in their own ways, and love, for them, was never about submission. It was about balance. But even in conflict, they never lost what made them them. Their bond was magnetic. It pulled them back, always. After Yang Mei Mei, there came a time when Yulong looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. He still had the same face, the same voice, the same steady posture. But the light in his eyes was different. Warmer. Deeper. Alive. Yang Mei Mei had changed him, not by demanding it, but by being herself. He began to understand that love isn't meant to replace who you are. It's meant to reveal who you've always been. The man who once found comfort in solitude now found peace in connection. The one who guarded his emotions now found strength in sharing them. The one who thought love would slow him down now realized it had helped him grow faster than anything else ever could. After Yang Mei Mei, Yulong wasn't just living. He was experiencing. The unseen depths of their story. Their relationship wasn't perfect, and maybe that's what made it real. There were moments of distance, of misunderstanding, of time and career pulling them in separate directions. But what remained was unbreakable, a kind of loyalty that defied distance and time. Even when they were apart, you could still see the influence she had left in him, in his words, in his presence, in the way he treated people. He never went back to who he was before her. Because once you've been seen, truly seen, you can never return to invisibility. What they taught each other. Yang Mei Mei taught Yulong how to feel. Yulong taught Yang Mei Mei how to believe. He gave her steadiness. She gave him freedom. He showed her structure. She showed him joy. Together, they built something that could not be defined, only felt. And maybe that's the essence of love, two people exchanging light, each making the other a little more whole. Legacy of change. Today, when fans look at Yulong, they see more than an artist. They see a man who lived a story of quiet evolution, a story written not in headlines, but in the subtle, invisible transformation that only love can bring. Because the truth is simple, Yulong before Yang Mei Mei was a man searching for meaning. Yulong after Yang Mei Mei is a man who found it. And in that journey, between solitude and connection, between silence and song, lies one of the most beautiful stories of all, the story of how one person can change another forever, simply by being love itself. When love meets fame. By the time their connection deepened, Yulong was at the height of his fame. Every move he made was followed, analyzed, dissected by millions. Every word he spoke was quoted, every silence interpreted. Yang Mei Mei, on the other hand, was still rising, a bright, unpredictable force finding her place in an industry that loves to both build and break dreams. To the outside world, they seemed perfect, the calm and the fire, the artist and the muse. But fame is rarely kind to authenticity. The world wanted them to be a story, not people. And that's where the quiet battles began. The hidden struggles. They never spoke of it publicly, but those close to them knew the pressure was real. Schedules kept them apart for months. Rumors swirled like constant background noise. Even moments of joy were often interrupted by the flashing of cameras, by questions that didn't deserve answers. Yet, through it all, they held on, not always with grand gestures, but with consistency. A text in the middle of the night. A shared inside joke that only they understood. A glance across a crowded room that said, "I'm still here." Sometimes, love doesn't need to shout. It just needs to survive. The turning point. There was one night, one quiet moment that changed everything. It wasn't during filming. It wasn't at an event. It was after. After long months of silence and distance, Yulong and Yang Mei Mei met again, away from lights, away from the noise. No scripts. No crew. Just two people, standing under the pale glow of a city that had watched them too closely for too long. He looked different. So did she. But the connection, that hadn't changed. It was raw. It was honest. It was real. In that silence, they didn't talk about the past. They didn't need to. They simply looked at each other, the way people do when words would only lessen the truth. Because in that moment, both of them knew something undeniable. They had shaped each other's lives, no matter what came next. Growth in the aftermath. After Yang Mei Mei, Yulong's art changed. You could see it in his performances, in the way he delivered lines, in the subtle emotion that filled his pauses. He had learned something that no acting class could ever teach him: empathy. He began to understand pain not as something to avoid, but as something to express. His once calm demeanor now carried depth, like a sea that had finally learned to let waves show on its surface. As for Yang Maymay, she grew into herself. She took risks, roles that showed range, interviews that revealed her strength. Gone was the uncertainty of a rising star. In its place stood a woman who had faced love, loss, and discovery, and turned all of it into art. She didn't just act, she transformed. Together, even apart, they evolved. Each carrying the other's imprint, like invisible ink written across the heart.